Castlevania has managed to do what I used to think was impossible. It's given me a modicum of hope for video game adaptations. It's with this newfound hope that I decided to make a list of 5 games, or game series, I would love to see get adaptations, regardless of how likely they are to happen. Here we go. I'm not gonna bullshit yet. Let's just go. Do you see this? Do you hear this? This is one of the greatest video game title screens of all time. It perfectly captures the feelings of uneasiness and isolation that permeate Super Metroid. Also, it happens to be the furthest I got into the game as a kid, because, well, I was kind of a pansy. I was a very easily frightened child. Saw that and was like, nope, not going any further. Then of course I hit my teens and Metroid Prime came out for the GameCube, and I played the shiz out of that game. And when I was done, I went back to the 3 original titles in the series, and lo and behold, I loved them just as much. Adi Shankar? Little Adi Shankar? Adi Shankar. We're gonna go with Adi Shankar. The showrunner for Netflix's Castlevania has already stated an interest in doing a dark anime-style Metroid series. And you know, that's cool. I'm on board. Here's my 2 cents about what would make the show great. First, take a risk and use minimal dialogue. What makes Metroid great is its tense atmosphere. For instance, I just beat Crocomire here, and it's quiet. I'm just gonna catch my breath here, and oh holy shit, it's back! Okay, it's dead. It's dead. We're fine. It's moments like this that are best replicated when there is not an overabundance of dialogue or overbearing music. I would want the show to focus on the mission at hand, making the viewers feel as tense as possible, uninterrupted by long stretches of dialogue and exposition. A series that primarily shows instead of tells, like the movie Alien. Also, I would want to make revenge against Ridley and the Space Pirates for killing her parents the driving motivation for Samus throughout the series. And I would love to see the series focus on the events of Metroid, Metroid 2, and Super Metroid. Samus would relentlessly pursue the pirates and Ridley, and by extension the Metroids on SR-388. This pursuit would lead to her pushing herself way too hard, until she's almost destroyed at the hands of Mother Brain. That is, until the baby Metroid sacrifices itself for her. This moment could serve as like a big aha moment for Samus, where she realizes that her parents sacrificed their lives so that she could live a full, happy life herself. And maybe, you know, we'd see a little bit of a character arc, something that is not really a main focus in Nintendo games. There are few games that are as epic, engaging, and just plain magic as Square's SNES masterpiece, Chrono Trigger. We're talking an adventure that spans 6 different eras, from prehistory to post-apocalyptic future, with a hero and companions who each have compelling stories. We're talking Chrono, Marley is how I've always said it. Some people may say Marl, I don't know. Luca, Robo, Magus, Ayla, and Frog. It would be really refreshing to have a TV show adventure that's fantasy and sci-fi, that's both engaging but not overly dark, while also fully developing each supporting character, a la Avatar: The Last Airbender. In other words, something I could actually watch with my daughter, and we could both enjoy. At face value, Earthbound looks like another lighthearted, silly Nintendo romp, where you fight sentient piles of barf. But dig a little deeper, and you'll find a game that deals with such lovely things as child abuse, police brutality, doomsday cults, and whatever the hey this is. Seriously though, Earthbound is my favorite SNES game, because in addition to being a healthy dose of nostalgia and absurdist humor, the game also teaches some pretty important lessons. At the very beginning of the game, Buzz, a hero from the future who ends up sending Ness on his adventure, tells him to remember that 3 things are important above all others: courage, wisdom, and power. Courage, wisdom, and friendship. At its heart, Earthbound's message is that you cannot avoid darkness, but through courage, wisdom, and the foundation of friendship, that is, empathy, the darkness can be overcome. I mean, the final boss can only be defeated by calling the world and the player to prayer, which eventually touches the evil Gygas's buried love, causing his being that has become made of incomprehensible darkness to dissipate. Like Rick and Morty, I could see an Earthbound TV series hiding a smart philosophical discussion beneath a veneer of crazy absurdist animation. Except, you know, instead of exploring nihilism and absurdism like Rick and Morty, it would explore humanism. Also, you probably wouldn't see stuff like this in Earthbound. Now that Disney owns Lucasfilm, it's looking like we are going to get a new Star Wars film every year for the next, well, ever. Right now we have Episode 8 to look forward to, as well as a Han Solo movie. Episode 9 is in the pipeline. So far, Disney's approach to handling the Star Wars universe is not to stray too far away from the original trilogy, or the Skywalker saga. This is the safe approach, and there's nothing intrinsically wrong with it, but I just want something different for a change. Turning the 2003 classic Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic into a TV series would be one way of really shaking things up. And I'm not talking an animated TV series, I would want to see this as a live-action TV series. Like every other BioWare game released before March 2017 that featured the words Star and Mass in their titles, Knights of the Old Republic features a team composed of compelling characters, and an equally compelling character-driven plot. Set 4,000 years before the events of the original trilogy, KOTOR is set in a galaxy where both Jedi and Sith are everywhere. A conflict between a gigantic Jedi Order and an even more gigantic Sith Order would be an exciting thing to see play out in a show, and it's honestly something we've never seen on the big or little screen from Star Wars. Plus, there's HK-47. Gosh, I love that meatbag-hating droid. You think C-3PO from Rogue One was morbidly lovable? Let me tell you, he's got nothing on HK-47. I used to want a Zelda movie, but the more I thought about it and the older I've gotten, the more I'd rather see an animated series. Why animated? I'm not saying it's impossible to make a man or a boy dressed like Peter Pan look cool, but it's a pretty big feat. The first thing I would do in adapting The Legend of Zelda is I would take the official timeline released by Nintendo. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna throw it out the effing window. Not because it's really confusing and seems suspiciously like it was thrown together at the last minute to sell a book, but mainly because it exists to tie together 17 video games over 30 years, and not to tell a concise story. The idea that I would love to see play out would be to take 2 or 3 games and create a sweeping connective narrative spanning multiple seasons. For instance, the show could start with the events of the Ocarina of Time. But the 90s kid, I hear you yelling vainly at your device, you Goron-headed tingle-tuner. Shouldn't a Zelda story start at Skyward Sword and establish how the Master Sword was made in the first place? To that I say, no. I'm not one of those that needs to see every single bit of lore. I'm okay hearing references to lore. I'm okay having a little bit of mystique and filling in the blanks with my own imagination. I like a little bit of mystique left in a show. Mystique like the Thing, not the sexy blue mutant. The story could stay relatively close to the game. The only thing that would really need to be expanded on would be Link's character development. A stoic, silent type makes for a great video game avatar, but kinda makes for a boring protagonist in a TV show. One way this could be accomplished would be if Link struggled with feeling responsible for allowing Ganondorf to get the Triforce and wreck Hyrule. Because he kind of was responsible. Perhaps even others like Darunia would hold Link responsible for the tragedies that befall their people. He'd have to overcome self-doubt and guilt, and ultimately when he defeated Ganon, it would feel triumphant because he did manage to overcome guilt, I guess. I shouldn't ad-lib, it sounds like shit. The story could then be continued by linking Ocarina of Time directly to A Link to the Past. Yes, it could still be a different Zelda and a different Link set hundreds of years in the future, but it could ultimately continue on in the same Hyrule that we saw in Ocarina of Time. And then, if the hypothetical makers of the show wanted to do something really risky, but infinitely awesome, they could go back to the original Link from Ocarina of Time, who, given the chance to go back and live the childhood he missed during his 7-year slumber, ends up in Termina. You know, Majora's Mask. It has almost nothing to do with the main narrative, and it is kooky dukes, and just completely out there, and yet it happens to be one of the most compelling Zelda stories, and I'd love to see it in a show. Do I think that it would happen? Probably not. So guys, that is my list of 5 video games that need TV shows. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. You should like and subscribe. All that jazz. Sorry I had to re-upload this, but I actually used a song that was copyrighted, and I just got hit up with it, and It was a legitimate thing, so I decided to take it down and replace the song. So now I'm putting it back up. So, yeah, just trying to fill out the rest of this time here. Love you guys.